You wake up with a to-do list you never touch. A project half built, notes scattered across a dozen open tabs, an idea that thrilled you at midnight and doesn't exist by morning. Someone calls you lazy. You start to believe them. But what if laziness was never the real problem? But 500 years ago, another man heard the exact same accusation. History remembers him as Leonardo da Vinci. By the end of his life, he had started more projects than he ever finished. A giant bronze horse abandoned before it was ever built. Flying machines that never left the page. Thousands of brilliant ideas, most of them never becoming reality. If laziness explains an untouched to-do list, what does it explain about a man who filled thousands of pages with anatomy, hydraulics, optics, and flight, and still left most of it undone? Because what looked like laziness wasn't laziness at all. Because the real problem wasn't laziness. It was direction. Picture the workshop, candlelight, the smell of linseed oil, commissions half begun and stacked against the walls. The people paying him grew tired of waiting, yet this was the same man who sketched the human heart centuries before science caught up, studied bird flight, and filled thousands of pages with ideas. The output was staggering. The completion rate was almost nothing. That contradiction is the whole mystery. For centuries, people believed he simply lacked discipline. But modern historians see something completely different. Walter Isaacson argues it was something far more complicated than laziness. Every project competed with a newer, more exciting idea. This wasn't a shortage of drive, it was a surplus of it, moving in every direction at once, with nothing forcing a choice. And that's where this stops being Leonardo's story and starts becoming yours. For years, psychologists believed procrastination was just poor discipline. Researcher Piers Steele found that we don't procrastinate because we don't care. We procrastinate because the goal feels too far away. Without a clear next step, motivation disappears. From the outside, ambition without direction looks exactly like laziness. Psychologist Fuchsia Sirois discovered something unexpected. Procrastination usually isn't about the task, it's about mood. When a goal feels too big or too unclear, the brain chooses immediate comfort over long-term progress. You're not avoiding the work, you're avoiding the discomfort of not yet knowing how to do it. And then the twist almost no one expects. In 2013, researchers found that chronic procrastinators often have a larger amygdala, the part of the brain that detects threats. They weren't feeling too little pressure, they were feeling too much. Starting felt like a threat, so the brain chose avoidance instead. Procrastination isn't a lack of caring, it's often caring so much that even the first step feels like a threat. This is where Leonardo's life stops being a curiosity and becomes a mirror. He wasn't indifferent to his unfinished work. His notebooks are full of frustration, self-criticism, plans he never returned to. He cared deeply. What he lacked wasn't ambition. It was a single channel narrow enough to carry all of it. Psychologists call this self-determination. Motivation grows when your effort has a clear direction and purpose. Without direction, even the smartest mind becomes scattered. Which brings the story to where it actually lives. Not in a Florentine workshop, but in your own unfinished tabs and abandoned drafts. The myth of laziness has convinced millions of ambitious people that they're simply broken. But the evidence tells a very different story. The problem was never effort. It was direction. Without direction, ambition spreads everywhere and achieves nowhere. He died in 1519 with unfinished masterpieces and notebooks overflowing with unanswered questions. History didn't remember him as lazy. It remembered him as one of the most driven minds who ever lived. And it took 500 years to understand those two facts were never in conflict. Maybe you were never lazy. Maybe your ambition has simply been waiting for the right direction all along.